All right. I'm Joel Klein. I'm a director with our Starbucks Branded Solutions division. I'm a 14-year partner, and I'm going to say it probably a dozen times through the presentation. So a partner is what we refer to at Starbucks. That's our employees. So when I say partner, that's our employees. We had a video that we were going to show, and it walked you through the processing of coffee in Costa Rica. So everything from the tree to the processing plant to when they put it in the bags. And we couldn't get that. Maybe if you come back tomorrow, we'll have that for you. Yeah, and more coffee. I had the opportunity 2 years ago to travel to Costa Rica. We select a group of partners each year to make the trip to a couple of the different coffee growing regions to spend time on the farm. So I got to meet the farmers, spend time with them, their families, spend time in the communities where they live and work. I also had the opportunity to get out hands-on on the farm. I planted my own tree. I got to pick coffee cherries from the trees, and I learned very quickly that I'm much better at selling coffee than I am at picking the coffee, so I'm going to stick to my day job. So today, before we get going, we're going to do a coffee tasting. I'm going to share a little bit more about Starbucks, and then Conrad and I'll open it up for some discussion. So the coffee that we're going to taste today is from the same region as Costa Rica. It's a Guatemala, Antigua. There are 3 prime coffee growing areas in the world. So we've got Latin America, Africa, and Asia Pacific. If you were to take a look at your globe, right around the equator is what we refer to as the coffee belt. If you've spent any time in our stores, we have that sometimes painted on the wall. And the coffee belt is the prime growing region because of the conditions and the climate make it ideal, obviously, for growing coffee. Antigua is a region in Guatemala that is unique. It's world-renowned for the coffee quality. They've been growing coffee for over 100 years. What we're going to taste today is grown at an elevation of over 5,000 feet. And what that does, the higher elevation, you get a variance in your climate, so you get the cool evenings, you get the rain and the sunshine during the day, and it allows the coffee to mature at the proper rate and absorb the flavors that are in the soil. Similar to wine and even beer, coffee is going to act just like those as it grows and develops and picks up those flavors. Antigua is unique that it's surrounded by 3 volcanoes. So over thousands of years, the ash from those volcanoes has worked its way into the soil, and it gives this coffee the unique taste that you may or may not be able to pick up here as probably beginner coffee tasters. So what we're going to do now is walk through the tasting. There's 3 key steps when we do a coffee tasting. It's the smell, it's the slurp, and then the taste. And now I'm realizing I don't have a cup of coffee. Is there any more back there? Okay, I'll fake it. So first, what we're going to do is smell the coffee. No, I'm good. I can pretend. Smell the coffee. So what you need to do is hold it up to you, cup your hand over the top, and just get a nice smell. Anybody want to share what they notice? Feel free to say that you smell coffee. That's fine too. It's a safe answer. It's good. It's good. I decided not to hide the answers. Okay, so everybody get a good smell of the coffee. Maybe you noticed something different. We do this before every meeting at Starbucks to get things started, so we get a lot of practice. So this is new for a lot of you. Next step is going to be our slurp. And what we do when we slurp coffee, I'll demonstrate for you in a moment. The idea is that you want it to coat the inside of your mouth so you can get a good taste, have it, figure out what you taste, where you feel it in your mouth. You also don't want to burn yourself or the tasting's over very quickly. So this is what a slurp sounds like. Okay, everybody got that? Can we do that as a group? Only when you're tasting. Yep. And when it's hot. Okay. That was all right. I don't know if we want to try it again or if we're out of coffee, but when you do that slurp, you should feel, so this is a medium body coffee. The answers are on the screen here. Medium body coffee you should feel sort of on the front of your tongue and on the sides. So now that you know what you're looking for, if you want to take another taste and see if you notice that. Okay. And then last, does everybody have a brownie? You ready? We need seconds. Imagine what the coffee would taste like if you had a brownie. So that would be the final step in the tasting. We would taste the brownie. You would pair it with the coffee. You would notice that the chocolate comes out much more intense, and you pick up some of the additional cocoa and flavors within the coffee. So there is a coffee tasting for you. If you've done wine and beer tastings, probably very similar, but something to add to your next trip to your local Starbucks to liven things up next time. You can educate your fellow customers as you visit the store. All right. So next, just want to touch on a little bit around Starbucks' influence in the coffee growing regions and with the farmers. So I mentioned I had an opportunity to plant my own tree when I was in Costa Rica. That was about 2 years ago. So we've actually got another year before that tree produces coffee. So it takes 3 full years before a coffee tree matures and begins producing coffee that can be processed and roasted and eventually served to our customers. That tree, when it finally gets to that 3-year point, will produce 1 pound of coffee a year. So that means for Starbucks alone, we need over 400 million trees to meet the demand for our coffee annually. And then when you take a look at the top left-hand corner there, we're purchasing the 3% of the top quality beans in the world. So the other 97%, whatever 400 million times that is, it's a tremendous amount of coffee in the world that is consumed. That number grows every year as coffee consumption increases. It's critical to continue to have that supply of coffee that we work with the farmers to make sure that their growing methods and how they are handling the coffee allows them to continue to grow coffee, to grow it at higher yields, so that we can continue to have that coffee available to us. So what we've done over the past 15 years is partner with Conservation International. We've partnered with them on a program that we call Cafe Practices. That stands for Coffee and Farmer Equity, and it's focused on the social, economic, and environmental impact of coffee farming. We want to make sure that our farmers are receiving a fair price for their coffee as they sell it. We want to ensure that they're passing on a fair wage to their coffee pickers, their staff, everybody that works for them, and that they're treated fairly. And then we want to make sure that as they're growing the coffee, they're having a positive impact on the environment. We don't want chemicals being used that shouldn't be. And so all of that is then verified through a third party to ensure that the farmers are following this process. And just over the past year, we've reached a point where 99% of our coffee falls into that ethically sourced category and is verified. Part of how we've gotten there is through $20 million in farmer loans over the years. So that supports all the things that I've talked about, the making sure that they've got things like clean water, schools, the tools they need, the information they need to continue to grow strong, healthy crops, increase their yield, and ultimately continue to stay in the business of farming coffee. Because if they're not making money, they're going to turn their crop into something else or give up farming altogether. We have 6 farmer support centers throughout the world, so there's 2 within each of the regions that I mentioned. That is Starbucks agronomists on the field, in the field, working to support the farmers. Again, we're doing soil samples to make sure that they've got the right nutrients. We are taking things like coffee plants and putting them together to see if we can develop a stronger tree that will resist disease. And then last, if you've been in our stores over the past year, we committed to donating a coffee tree for every pound that's purchased. So we're up to 15 million coffee trees that we've donated. And so big number, but when you think about the larger amount of trees that are out there and needed, it's just scratching the surface, but a step in the right direction. Before I move on, any questions on any of that? Okay. And then before I open it up with Conrad, just want to finish with our mission statement. So there are a lot of different companies represented in the room. I'm sure everyone has their mission statement, and I think some companies probably follow it more closely than others. Starbucks is something we refer to on a daily, regular basis as we're making decisions. So we touched on some of it through the coffee tasting and how we show up in the farming communities, but this carries over into our business decisions and every conversation that we're having on a regular basis. So just if you can't can't see it. It's to inspire and nurture the human spirit, one person, one cup, and one neighborhood at a time. Yeah, so prior to Branded Solutions, these three different pieces of our business were our stores. What you see here would be our food service business throughout the hotel, and then our office coffee business that you might see within your coffee kitchen at work. And the challenge was that at the time, we were going in as three separate sales teams, sometimes one day apart, sometimes meeting with the same customer and having conversations about competing solutions. So we were confusing our customers. We were a little bit confused ourselves because we didn't know that our other partner had been in there trying to sell the same piece of business. So what we did 5 years ago was bring all of that together into Branded Solutions, and felt that the opportunity was to elevate the conversation we're having with our customers by bringing together the portfolio of solutions and sitting down with everything that we had to offer, and not only being more efficient internally, but meeting the customer needs with a portfolio that they were able to make choices from and not have to choose competitively between the Starbucks options, but have a portfolio that met all the needs.
So what kind of challenges that raised for your sales force? And start maybe with the marketing side and move all the way to the sales.
Yeah, so we've taken a sales force now that have in some ways, three different skill sets, three different competencies. A licensed store sales cycle could be anywhere from 12 months to 5 years. And on the other end of the spectrum, office coffee could be 1 day. So we had to figure out how to take those varying skills and bring everybody together into one team and allow them to sell the full portfolio.
I sort of think of, I live in Seattle, so maybe I'm biased, but Starbucks is like, that's it, right? What's keeping your customers from just saying, why don't you just buy Starbucks?
Probably one of the key pieces is we had so many options and so many choices that we made it, again, confusing and difficult for our customers. So one of the things that we did out of the gate was to create platforms. So we took away a little bit of the guesswork for the customers. To a certain extent, we are Starbucks, we're the experts, and we can to somewhat tell you, hey, this is probably what you're gonna need to be successful to run your operation. So platform selling was one of the key pieces that got things going and that allowed our sales force to trim away some of the confusion and clutter and be able to sit down with a handful of options.
So one of those that came up against is you're selling more senior folks as that conversation evolved.
Yep.
And that's where we end up meeting each other.
Yep.
So what were some of the challenges with having those more senior conversations? How are you addressing them and how are you addressing them now?
Yep. So part of the challenge was that when we were in parts, it only got you so far in the door. You weren't necessarily at the decision maker that could make a decision on multiple stores. They might be able to make a decision on one. So now that we've got the full portfolio of solutions, the platforms, it elevates who we're able to sit down and talk to, because now we're able to say this is a solution that you can implement across your business. And that gets us in the door to that higher level decision maker, but not necessarily someone we had experience dealing with previously. And the challenge was making sure our partners had the information, the expertise they needed to have an educated discussion to be able to influence that high level, CEO or CFO of the companies that we're working with.
And so based on the work we've done, I've learned that people are focusing on healthcare, hospitals,
Mm-hmm.
higher ed,
Mm-hmm.
obviously hospitality. What were some of the challenges that introduced as you were finding more of a vertical focus for some of those?
So as we go in with a larger portfolio of solutions, the investment becomes greater. So we weren't just dealing with maybe buying a coffee brewer and the product you needed to serve it. You're looking at hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of investment, and that requires somebody that can make the decision to make that investment. So the challenge was understanding what is important to that customer and having the conversation that transitions our solutions to meet their needs. And that was probably the biggest opportunity to give the confidence and the direction as to how you go about that. I think as salespeople, you're always told, do your research. But I don't know if we had been given the direction as to what exactly that research looks like, and then more importantly, what do you do with it once you've done it? And that's where I would say the connection was made through the training that we've done. Yeah, so as being Starbucks, as Conrad's mentioned, we have tons of information. We can tell you, again, the traffic, who's buying, who's not buying, who we're targeting, who's not in our key audience. But within a hospital, what's key is that staff and employees are the prime audience. They're there all the time. They are not coming and going. So to be able to use that information to share with a hospital, to let them know that they can improve their satisfaction scores, that there's certainly a piece of that applies to the patients and their guests, but if your employees are happy, obviously things are in a much better place. And if we have a solution that we can provide that gives your employees within the hospital a place to break away. So if you think about the Starbucks store, we call it the third place. It's sort of that place to get away from work and from home and sort of in between. And now we're able to offer that within a hospital, a place for your employees during their break to get away that doesn't require them to leave and go get in their car and go somewhere else, but also something that's comforting, allows them to have some conversation that may not be around work. And to do that as a profit driving opportunity is a bit of a game changer as we talk with our customers in the healthcare segment.
So are there any questions we can address before we keep this dialogue going?
From a Starbucks perspective, you use the term platform. Tell us more about that. You talked about having a brand solution, and then you got a platform to sell on them. Tell me more about that.
Yeah, so we went from being more of a SKU-based selling sales force and going in and trying to sell just bits and pieces and whatever we could get and take the order, to selling the full program or the platform. And taking some of the guesswork out of it for our customers, but also putting a little bit of influence on, if you're signing up for this level of a program, these are the products and programs you're going to carry. Yeah, simplifies the choice. And what we found is that we hesitated and thought, we can't take these items away or do different things. Our customers are going to go crazy. And what we found is our customers said, thank you. They looked to us and said, you're the experts. You know what works well in our 20+ thousand stores around the world. You've now simplified it and just made it easy for us to sign up and say, let's do it, and take the guesswork out of it.
So when you say 20,000 plus stores, that's your 20,000?
That's all stores globally that we own, company operated, and then we've got the other 4 or 5.
That allows like a Kroger or a Safeway to install a revenue source without having to do a lot of thought about it. You've got a proven model.
Yep.
That platform.
So, if I'm hearing you right, it sounded like rather than it's a conscious strategic decision, that instead of making individual calls at a low level where you couldn't really, it would take forever to sell the lower calls, you saw the opportunity to call higher up.
Yep.
Somebody who would be able to make the decision and it would save you time and effort.
Yeah.
That one person decided for a much broader reach.
Yep. When we set out, we're a company that's grown double digits in an industry that's flat, and we needed to figure out how to continue that growth. And so that was the approach we took. And if you think about this hotel as an example of, we could come in and knock on this door and sell to this one hotel, or we could get to that higher level and have the opportunity to influence 200 hotels. And I won't lie, saying that you're with Starbucks doesn't hurt. I mean, that opens some doors. But I think just in general, the ability to take some of the things that we had already done. We had success that looked like what we were trying to form, and to be able to create a story out of that, rely on some of our existing customers to help tell that story as a reference, helped us in a big way. And then from a competitive standpoint, so if you're successful with, we do work in college and university, and my team had targeted the Big Ten schools. So to be able to go to Rutgers and Maryland, who are new to the Big Ten, and say, you're not only new to the Big Ten, but you're two of the only schools that don't have a Starbucks on campus. There's things like that certainly help as well. I think so. The financial model that we're able to share certainly differentiates us in a lot of cases. Again, the success stories that we've got, then we can share. While there may be some preferences of certain people, it's what do the customers ultimately want? And I would say the slide I shared on the cafe practices, that's a big one, especially as we get into college and university. So to be able to have the data and the information on what we're doing and how that may or may not be different than the competitors. Because a small competitor, they can have a message that seems to resonate much more quickly because we're the big corporate giant and we can't possibly be doing good for the world. So. Yeah, so what we did, and as a culture, Starbucks, we made this transition and everybody kept a role out of the gate initially. So that was our first step. And what we tried to do was pair sort of competing skills. So somebody that was selling one solution, we'd make sure that they sort of had a partner that had expertise in selling the other solution. And over time, certainly that's not efficient to have two people doing the job that one person can be doing, but we continued that learning. And I would say we took about the first year where we hit that first hurdle and we said, okay, we've got some people that may not be capable of handling this new model. And we either found new roles or made some decisions there. And it's been, I would say, every year a sort of step up to that next level as we've become more sophisticated and gotten better at what we're doing. I would say I was in a meeting last week with some of my peers, and one of my peers who deals with our national grocery and some of the airport stores, so managed through Host. And she commented that the timing was fantastic as we come into contract negotiations. She, again, another, dealing with multiple levels, operations within our customers, dealing with the sales side, now sitting down with CEOs of companies like Kroger, Delta, and having these conversations and being able to really uncover sort of what, we've got this relationship, we're doing business, but let's sit down and really uncover what the customer needs are and how do we have a more strategic relationship going forward. Everybody here, so did we experience margin erosion through the changes? Part of what we did through the platform selling was we worked on our pricing. So we were large fluctuations in pricing and didn't have the consistency we needed. So we took advantage of the opportunity that as we went to this platform, level set pricing, we're able to actually improve in some areas as far as the margins and come out ahead. So it was a good opportunity as we made these changes to just do it all. And again, our customers, I think, were more excited about the changes we made in the platforms and that the price, became less of a piece of the conversation as we were more strategic with the solution. I would say it's back to the research piece and that confidence that you now know how to sit down and have that conversation with the right information, the right questions to ask. I think prior to the training, we were saying to do the research and to call these people and have meetings, but we didn't have the structure in place to set partners up for success. So our marketing team handles a lot of, so within our business unit, the marketing team is sort of pulling that information together, and then we've got multiple places that we're pulling from elsewhere in the company that, you know, whether it's the social media that we pull from, actual research we're doing, just the general information we get from our customers on a daily basis, engaging with our app. So it's the marketing team that's taking all of that and funneling it through and making sure that we've got it in a way that we can, again, tell the right story.